Well, howdy folks, Shawn here from hikingwithshawn.com. Today we are at Ferne Clyffe State Park off of Rebman Lane. It's just a little lane that goes to the end of the road, dead end, and there's a parking lot. And we're gonna kind of do some off-trail hiking. It's weedy, you know, we're gonna get in kind of bushwhack and spider webs and all that fun stuff. But it's just, there's really no rattlesnakes over here, so just kind of got to look out for copperheads. But we're gonna go and check out an area that might have a waterfall. Yeah, may not. Depends on what the rain situation is like. But we're gonna take you with us. If you ever do come out here and hike, it's rugged. You know, there really isn't a whole lot of trails besides user-made ones that are probably faint. Make sure you bring plenty of water, you know, wear comfortable hiking clothes and boots. I'm in shorts, you know, but I have bug spray and all that, so it's really pretty out here though. It's really best during leaf off, but we get out all year long, so that's why we're here. So stay tuned. At one time, this was a road, and people would cross this bridge to get to their farm. Obviously, the bridge is no longer maintained, and definitely not something I'd want to cross. But still kind of cool to see the old piece of history left behind. All right, folks, you can see the old road here, carved out through the forest. Probably started out as just a path, and there was so much traffic from horseback and wagons and maybe eventually like older vehicles, and then it eventually turned into this deep, or you know, looks like a river, like a dried up river. And you can see the old barbed wire where they probably had farmland over here, cattle or something, livestock. Here's the road looking down it. It's always some old gnarly trees next to these things. So this is private, I'm not gonna go past it, but there's a old barn through here from back when it was a widely used farm. And there's a barn up ahead that's on private, but you know, we'll go near it. And you know, back then this road led to an old farm, and it was the way of life. But I like coming over to this little spot because there's a sign here. It's getting quite old. But at one time it said like Illinois Department of Conservation. Just kind of hard to read it now. But that's what a little pond there. That's what IDNR was called when it first was formed, Department of Conservation. And then eventually it became Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Other states still use Department of Conversation, Department of Conversation, Department of Conservation. Missouri uses it to manage their like natural areas, hunting and wildlife and all that. Some old junk from home sites. But they also have an IDNR that manages their state parks, so they have separate entities. And you can see this sign is actually older. It says Illinois Department of Conservation. So it's older, but that sign isn't that old, so the switcheroo wasn't too long ago. Some big trees, always associated with old home sites, old farms, old roads. Nice and thick underbrush. But it is summer. So benefit of hiking out here this time of year is you pretty much get it all to yourself, you know. But if you don't want to hike in this kind of, you know, brush or terrain or whatever, then you stick to the more popular trails. But because it's summer, those trails are going to be more popular. And that's all right, you know. You can usually have fun on them just as much. You're just around a lot more people. If that's not your thing, you know, then it's not your thing. But out here, there's less, obviously, but there's more issues to deal with. Snakes, mosquitoes, ticks, you know. All I have to do is like just go through this underbrush and I start itching. I'm itchy now, but I'm kind of ignoring it. And then some stuff could be stinging nettle. Looks like it. Sticker bush, all that stuff you gotta watch out for. Some people though will not do anything during the summer because of all these things I mentioned. I couldn't do that. So I used to not get out during the winter because it was cold. I didn't want to be cold, so I'd stay inside through the winter days, and unfortunately I missed out on a lot. But once I started going out, I really started enjoying it. So now I enjoy all year long. All right, folks, heading for the bluffage. We could have been on it already, but it took us way down. That's part of it. Part of hiking with Shawn. You're all wanting to hike with me all the time, but I gotta say, sometimes we go down too far. Then we gotta come back up. Bluffage. Good old bluffage. The good thing about hiking this time of year, bluffage. Little arch, or a little window, I guess. Not an arch. Nice boulder. Not gonna lie, I like big boulders. Just gotta look out for copperheads, because they are here. So, they like the bluffage too. I will say this, folks, it is not cool. Quite warm. This is all part of bushwhacking, folks. You find spots where you can get down. We came up to one spot. If it was dry as a bone, it'd probably be a little easier, but it's wet and there's big rock you gotta kind of shimmy down, and I'm sure it's slick as snot, so it'd be more like falling down. All right, folks, this is why we bushwhack, to see stuff like this. That's off trail, and you're just not gonna find it unless you bushwhack. So a lot of the big bluffage that I find in areas where people are like, I don't recognize that, is off trail. You know, that's how we find it. We have found a lot of cool stuff off trail, but you got to put in the work. Sometimes it's hot, sweaty, buggy. Other times it's cold, slick, rainy, hard. I mean, it's never easy. But this is the reward you get. Big shelters, big bluffs, bluffage. A little waterfall is better than no waterfall at all. All right, folks, Copperhead Bridge. So the Copperhead was actually over here, and it went under that rock right there. So kind of cool. A little bit of bridge naming, natural bridge naming history. So let me make sure there's no other Copperheads lurking about here. As I get on this bridge, here's the bridge, and it's you know, underneath it, it's hollow. I mean, it's a real bridge, real natural bridge. So it's pretty cool. Here's the bridge, and you can see daylight. It's a legit bridge, legit natural bridge. If it was winter, it'd be a good place to start a fire. But it is not winter. But it is raining, and it's a nice place to get out of the rain. All right, folks, if you could tell, I'm pretty hot. My shirt here is nothing but wet. Shorts are kind of dry fit, but they're pretty wet. And we've went about 2.4 miles, so we're actually heading back. We were gonna go to another area called Schoolhouse Falls, but the water ain't really running, and it's a little ways to get there. It's pretty warm. It's a lot warmer than we started. So we're just gonna head back and probably put in about a 3.5 mile hike total. And yeah. All right, folks, sometimes you gotta go through the jungle to get out. Some of this is thorny. All right, folks, we have bushwhacked to our trail. A lot of birds. .1 miles, we did a 5K. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time, see you on the trail.